The T-Vestigation deception in Satan's short season.
Look at the kneecaps. You see that? And you go down to the feet. Bam! Now you see it.
There's a very large skull, very wide, and prominent brow ridges, hair covering up half the face, and tons of makeup, right? Tons of makeup. Very strange looking eyes, cat-like eyes in a way. So indicating to me that there's been some work done on those eyes, right? To make them more narrow or something. Very strange looking skull, nose job.
Bam!
The Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit clan with Dan. I used to watch channels on the one platform during the old demic known as Bit to the Shiznewt. I'm using code words like Tony.
What we did to the Vladmeister, apparently we're talking the Ruslans.
And some of it is extremely interesting, and I would not be surprised, and I am still quite convinced that a lot of celebrities are inverted, if you know what I mean. And it's a long, drawn-out process. They're basically selected at birth for this process. But once you get into that, it can go a little too far, and you're investigating everybody. And long story short, to summarize it, some men don't have the most masculine features. Either they weren't fed properly, maybe they weren't weaned long enough, or they just have a long-standing generational curse of just bad genetics in that regard, and they have a small bone structure or a receding chin, and for the most part, it's not their fault. And women, on the other hand, some women can have a strong jaw, and some women can have a bit of a brow ridge, and sometimes either gender can be attracted to that. That's why some women are attracted to pretty boys, because they know they're going to have a pretty child. And that's why some men, and a lot of us, will consider a beautiful woman with a few here and there odd masculine features still an extremely beautiful woman, like a strong jaw or something like that. Because procreation-wise, the Most High Almighty Father in heaven programmed us to look for strong genetic signals. That means we're going to have she's a pretty and also handsome woman, so we're going to have a pretty and or handsome baby. We look, that's basically our attraction signals in our brain. And yes, it's fun to do the T-Vestigation for celebrities, but when it comes to a YouTuber with 75,000 subscribers, or say a professor doing a presentation, or three girls from Georgia who sing and one of them plays the Pandori. You got to draw the line somewhere. Like, for example, those three girls that I mentioned, Trio Mandilli, they're definitely not. I could squat all three of them at once and military press two of them at once. They're 110 pounds if you poured water on them. You could go crazy with analyzing people like that. All in all, what it comes down to is the all-in-all bone structure. You can't just say, oh, that woman has a brow ridge, or that man has no chin. It's the all-in-all bone structure of the person, how they determine if it's a male or a female. And yes, some women have broader shoulders. If you were to go by that logic, all women professional wrestlers are dudes, and that is not the case. Yes, most of them probably took substances that masculinize you and would cause that effect for performance enhancement. And I'm by no means defending them. They are a bunch of little devils. But you put that roster next to the male roster, and you're going to tell a difference in bone structure. It's the overall skeleton. Moral of the story is you can really go overboard with this stuff. I know girls personally that I see in person that basically have no hips. But no, they're females. I have small wrists and a round face. I guess I'm a chick. You see what I'm saying? Like, honestly, if you were to see my Oma, that's my German great-grandma, if you were to see her, by these T-Vestigation standards, you would think that she was a dude. But no, that was my Oma. She was a strong woman, but she was a woman. So, if you haven't stumbled into that neck of the woods yet of YouTube and you start seeing stuff like that, yes, there's a high probability with a lot of the celebrities. But don't get brainwashed by it and start pointing fingers at everybody. It's actually more of the royalty that are the perpetrators in the inversion regard. A lot less celebrities are not what they appear to be. Well, they're liars and deceivers, but they're not as many are as inverted as some of these channels which would try to convince you to believe. And their videos are quite convincing. A lot of the information is from outdated, vague info from science textbooks that says the male skeleton is one way and the female skeleton is the other way, with no leeway towards jaw size or brow ridges and things of that nature. It's the whole skeleton that counts. Like, a male skeleton's going to have a lot higher bone mineral density all in all, with a few exceptions too on both sides. It's not black and white. You could honestly go crazy looking at people and analyzing this stuff in the media, but you'll never know for sure.
Bam!
I don't think any of you are deceived into that and go into it too much, but I was almost brainwashed at one point about 3 years ago, where I was doing it to just people on the street, and from my logic and the way the one guy on that platform, his Mr. E, does it, I would, half the people that I was looking at the males would have been females and vice versa, and they had children. So you can't just paintbrush it like that. Like, there's a lot of different body types and a lot of different bone structures for both genders. Yes, there's definitely some strange inversion dabbling going on with celebrities and people in power. However, let's just say something set me off to record this video. At any rate, speaking of stuff that happened like several years ago, I will be doing a video on the hokey pokey, keyword pokey. I think I'm going to call it the elephant in the room that nobody's talking about, just to get some stuff off my chest in that regard, because a while ago, several years ago, I was convinced that was the mark. I was almost 100% convinced that was the mark. And I thought that the far majority of people that I'm still interacting with now that had it would be no longer. So I'm definitely going to do a therapeutic video on that. There'll be a lot of code words in that one, to say the least. At any rate, may the Most High Almighty Father be with you, and His Holy Spirit comfort you. In Jesus' mighty name, peace be with you.